The four people who are going to be asked to answer this question have just received a list that will become obvious to others as I go read the question. Following are a number of projects where the district has offered tax abatements. Pick one and explain why it was a wise or poor decision. And the choices they have, and this is going to Mr. Mays, Mr. Patterson, Mr. Weaver, and Mr. Mara. Adams Morgan Hotel, Convention Center Hotel, O Street Market, Union Station Pilot, CoStar moving to D.C., Hilton Hotel in Noma, 4000 South Capitol Shopping Center, new retail at 2200 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, and the Heights on George Avenue. Just pick one and explain why it was a wise or a poor decision. We'll begin with Mr. Mays.
It's a really tough list here because there's some real boners here as well as, but I'm going to stay positive and say the Convention Center Hotel, because our convention center is world-class, but it doesn't have world-class facilities around it, and we need to be able to attract larger conventions and bring more people into the city, more big associations and the like, and you can't do that with a convention center that does not have a hotel that can be a staging area for it. And so I would cite that as something that is well past due, but really needed.
Mr. Patterson?
First of all, I'd like to state that I'm against tax abatements, but since I have to choose one, and one that I actually think was a wise one, was 2200 Martin Luther King Avenue. If you're going to give a tax abatement, it should go to an economically distressed community and not to communities that already are moving or transitioning, but communities that are without, some of the needed commercial facilities that they need. And so I've went to this facility. It's a great place. Actually went there last week. So 2200 Martin Luther King.
Mr. Weaver?
Well, out of hand, I just want to say that I sort of reject the idea. The problem I have with tax abatements is that we are just sort of throwing darts at a dartboard. There's no independent analysis of this. There's no CBO offering that comes forward or CFO offering that comes forward in an independent way. When you're looking at these, there are no clawbacks. So if anyone doesn't hire 51% local people, there's no penalty for that. So on that basis alone, I'm going to say that CoStar and Adams Morgan Hotel both have clawback initiatives that are put into the legislation. They're the only two that actually, if local people are not hired, if actually the number of jobs are not met, that actually the developers lose portions of the tax abatement. But until we overhaul the entire system of tax abatements to where we actually have reporting that is within 5 years when actually the construction starts, it's a pig and a poke. It's who has the best access at the city council and not what makes economic sense for the city.
Mr. Mara?
Sure, to piggyback on Mr. Weaver's comments, one of the things that I've noticed over the years is that whenever a tax abatement comes up, you basically have a council member listing off all the great reasons for the tax abatement. So there certainly needs to be procedures in place so that we can adequately identify what's a good tax abatement, what's a bad tax abatement. I understand Councilmember Michael Brown does have legislation in this area, but I have not, I'll be honest, I have not read it, so I don't know if I support it or not. But certainly we need a better strategy with tax abatements going forward because I do prefer tax abatements in more disadvantaged areas, but I am much more familiar with the Adams Morgan Hotel, and Brian and I actually sat through the hearing on it as well, so I'd have to go with the hotel.